of athletes who have multiple hamstring injuries, history of low back pain, and when you check them with the active swim test, they're very, very asymmetrical. They're really off on that test. But if you check people that are either one, they've never had a hamstring tear or low back pain, or you check people that have had either a hamstring tear or low back pain separately, they're so symmetrical, it's unbelievable. When you check them by degree with an active swim test, they're really, really symmetrical. It's really like within 1 or 2 degrees, most of them, you know what I mean? I'd say easily 60% of them are within 1 or 2 degrees. That's the margin of error, like, you know what I mean? You can just read it wrong, you know? That's really close when you put a digital inclinometer in the shin when you're checking an active slump test. But the others are off by a good few degrees. Oftentimes you'll find it's that subgroup in there. So, I don't know, I can't really explain. There's lots of potential reasons. Is the pain perception from here up? Is it the physiology of the nerve? We also have people who've looked at these as well, and they found in one particular study, I think it was Morale, found someone with involvement of the sciatic nerve in the scar formation of the hamstring injuries, an imaging study. Did an MRI, and they found that there was tethering. You could actually see scarring around the sciatic nerve because of where the muscle had torn and bled, and because of where how it healed back. The guy had no change in the slump test as far as I remember, he had no symptoms or anything like that. So you think, oh, this guy's going to have lots of problems when we give him a slump test, and he was fine, no symptoms, no pain or anything like that. Still had a big scar, but no pain. So it's a complex thing in the same way as the back pain is. And if you think about an athlete, if they're a recreational athlete, their social life, and that spirit of competition drives people so much, and it can be a stressor for people. Do you know what I mean? It'll really drive people. So it can be a serious thing having repetitive hamstring injuries. You're out again with this thing, and what it represents to you in your life. If you're a professional athlete, it's a more serious thing. It's your career, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So, you know, how am I going to feed my family? These guys are looking at me here and they think I'm not pulling my weight. It's a big thing. It's a complex enough issue for these people. Although it's a simple tear of the muscle, it can be a complex thing in the representation to a person. Now on to palpation. Because why not, right? Because why not? So, when you're palpating someone for the hamstring injury, palpating the back's pretty useful. If you want to, like, spring in the back, all that kind of crack, no harm. Glutes, piriformis, all this kind of stuff can be useful to palpate as well. But really what we want to get into is the hamstring. Now, running type hamstring injuries, they usually happen. What's the mechanics of a running type hamstring injury? How's it? Last few degrees, yeah, to swing through leg, yeah. So, yeah. So as Helen's leg, when she's running, when she brings the heel up here, as she's kicking through before she makes that strike there, when she strikes a foot, at this kind of angle here, that's when you usually get a tear. And for the running type, the most common running type hamstring injuries, where is the tear usually going to happen? What muscle?
Biceps femoris.
Yeah, biceps femoris, around the distal end of it down there. So around this bit here, we've got to palpate the length of it and see what we've got, and have we got a cleft in there, and we've got a big gap in there, or what's going on in there. And again, sometimes we're going to have to differentiate between SI pain and lumbar pain and neuromechanical sensitivity and a hamstring muscle tear, because different interventions slightly for each one, you know, different components we put into a program. So you're going to palpate around like that, or using this like we did for the groin palpation, that kind of passive hand palpation. For the proximal ones, that other one, how does that happen? The proximal three tendon, what happens there?
Flexion,
Extreme.
Is that more a kind of
Stretch. Or kicking
motion?
motion.
It is the high kick type of deal, you know, it's kind of dancing and that kind of crack. And it is, and they take longer to heal and all that different, slightly different type of tissue. And that's going to be more, sorry, okay, it's going to be more up in that area there. Take a little bit longer to heal. Same rehab programs work for both. That's what we're looking at there with that. So you're going to be carefully at palpation. Check that as well, because there's nothing stopping someone getting both irritation in both areas either, you know what I mean? Having a little bit of each and you just get a little bit of overload for the nervous system. You say, no, I'm out now. I'm not having this, I'm out for a few weeks. So checking all that stuff with your palpation. Next thing is resisted manual muscle testing for the hamstring. So we've got a few different ways of doing this. The handiest way would be if my dynamometer was working and brought it in, but it's not, and it didn't, so we are where we are. So, first off, knee flex to 90 degrees, and I'm going to get you to just do a little leg curl there, yeah? Just go, put your heel up towards your bum. Go, nice go. That painful?
No.
No, great stuff. So we're going to check at 90 degrees. Is that enough?
No.
No, we're going to check down here as well. Now, the body position I favour. The one problem with this is this, right? You usually want it where the toes are about there. And if I'm pushing against you and you're pushing and you let go, what happens? You're going to start smashing toes off tables and stuff, and that's not really good. So for a manual muscle test, we want the person to make the contraction. It's a more reliable method. So I like to get into this kind of body position like so to do that. Can you do a little leg curl there for me? Go, 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 go. Come on. Any pain?
No.
Perfect. Okay, so check good leg first, then bad leg. And that's your manual muscle tests. Now, we get it.
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you ever like put it under strain and bring it all the way through, so like she's getting her nature from? Because there's some people they wouldn't feel it till just that end of range.
I don't. I check them isometric and I measure one after the other with the device. And I check them lying on the floor, and I get them to show how I actually do it in real life. I get them to lie on the floor and put the heel up on the table. You'll see the picture of it in your brother and Candace. It's Ryan Shack did a study on this. And I get them to push the heel back into the table that way when they get the time. When they do that. And he used a pressure cuff. Don't buy that pressure cuff because they changed the design of it. I actually emailed him and is this the cuff? Yeah, that's the cuff, buy that one else. He's a very nice guy, and I was emailing back and forward to him, and the pressure cuff doesn't work because you can't pre-inflate it, so don't bother with that. Use a proper dynamometer, and basically I'll compare the strength of the hamstrings at 90 that way. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'll check at that prone position like that as well, with that position there with the dynamometer held in there, and compare each one. The problem with these is this, but if you you're very young, so you keep your hips down flat on the table. Can we let me see who's not going to hop up here and we can cheat? Come on. I'm trying to work out who's likely to cheat to make it a better leg curl. We had it earlier on with Connor was doing this earlier on. It's now, I'm going to get you to just pull that as hard as you can. Pull your hamstring as hard as you can, go.
Yeah.
See that? Right. So you're used to being in the gym, right?
Yeah.
You know, no, but you know what a leg curl is, right?
No.
You know, okay, Connor's in the first round, but you're doing the efficient way, so you're getting your hip into it, you're basically doing that movement. So you can get a lot of force. When we've done this with the machine, you'll find a huge difference. If you're keeping your hip down on the table, there's a huge difference in the reading I'll get. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if he lets his hip hike up, he'll get an extra 10 kilos of strength.
Yeah.
So it's actually an enormous, big, monstrous difference. So I don't actually really bother with that too much. I just like the supine position better. Anyway, for you guys, what you need to know is this. Go and pull, if that's sore, and this position here. Pull there.
Is that 15 degrees now?
That's sore. Yeah, 15 degrees is usually kind of around that, toes at the table, that type of thing. It's going to be the same with both legs. Compare one leg to the other, and you're looking for painful and weak. That's what you're going to find with this. Does that make sense? Perfect. So that's what you're looking at for that, is your palpation stuff there. Need to practice that? No, that would be pretty straightforward, isn't it? What else do we need to do? Yeah, that's pretty much all we have down there. Someone's got an acute muscle injury, you know, first session, that'll do. You've got enough information to be going on with. As they start to heal, and as you start to go through a bit of a rehabilitation program with them, you might see they're not moving as well as they might be. You'll observe that they've got a lot of dynamic pelvis and medial rotation with femurs. They're doing some of the exercises. Their body's very straight. They don't kind of get into a power position very well. So we have an opportunity to improve how people move around the field a little bit, if you understand how they should look like when they move around the field and what body positions they should be in when they change direction. And that's kind of the next thing, how we augment the programs we do and make them more specific to the person. And again, we can change the psychology around it and how they understand the injury too. So, hop up there, let's go through a little bit of rehab.